Hi, everyone. So, how do we decipher the truth? Because right now, I know keep on talking about us really needing to come into our own truth, really needing to be the way showers to carry this world, carry the light for the world during this such chaotic time. And historically, it's always been chaotic because we've built this 3D world that we live in over thousands of years through such conditioning that we're born into it, and uh, we're born into it. But then we are taught, because it's what everyone knows, because they think it's the best thing for us. We're taught how to live within this 3D construct, and most of our beliefs are based on that. And so many of our beliefs from a young age, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to do it, and then also, how we're supposed to make it in this world as we grow up. That's all put into us through so many different ways. Family, parents, first and foremost, or guardians, and how we're raised in our own houses, but then the education system, etc. I can go on and on. Other people also then expect each other to work in a certain way. So as we do this, it's nobody's fault, obviously, but now we're moving into a multidimensional aspect, and we have these two different timelines. So, there's a lot of people who are still in that complete 3D timeline. This is what I know. This is what I learned. This is the right way. You need to do it the right way. And we make ourselves out to be uh, humans who all should all think the same way, which innately I believe that all of us know is not true. So, those of us who are on this path to the other timeline of living multidimensionally, of seeing the bigger picture, and a lot who have been awakened, who are awakening, and again, awakening can mean so many different things for different people um, as we continue to grow and learn our whole entire lifetimes. But there's so many people right now who are awakening to new levels and new understandings of the world and of themselves. So as we're moving, and 2020 is really that place where there's been so much opportunity for us to awaken to new levels, and based on where we are in consciousness, at whatever timing, we can continue to awaken based on different things. And it could be something that someone else wouldn't be awakened by, but that triggers one person to awaken to a new sense of self, even sense of the world, sense of being, and then therefore they start living differently. So how, when we already are awakened to a large extent, do we still, because we're still dealing with that, most of us have self-worth issues, self-confidence issues, things like, oh, that's never going to work because it didn't work in the past. But the energies are changing so dramatically, where it's always been that anything is possible, but it's been, historically it's been a little harder to get there. It's been a little bit more really hard working, like certain people who've really made it on certain levels, and into things that seem weird or not normal, they really had to work at it. And some things didn't work. And they failed. And then they made it. And some people have tried things and failed and haven't tried it again. So at this point, the energies are supporting us. If it truly is in our hearts and our souls where we are meant to be going, we are so much more supported energetically at this point. And some of the things that may have not worked in the past will begin to work now. Some of the things that were working in the past all of a sudden will come to an end and will transform into something new. So, as we go through this, it's not easy for anyone, no matter what their perspective and where they're living, because we still, if we are living in the multidimensional, we still are living on the 3D plane. So then there becomes this balance of figuring out how to work, how to live in one, and but live as something different. And what we need to do is really, truly find what's true to each and every one of us. And to each of us, that's unique. So, my truth is not going to be the same as yours, or the person next to you, or your mother, or your daughter, or your best friend. It's never going to be the same. So, first and foremost, we need to accept the fact that we're all in different spaces and we all have different truths that live in our hearts. From there, we can not we can create something where we don't feel as conforming. We don't feel like we have to be like someone else. We don't feel like we have to do everything the same way as everyone else. And that frees us first and foremost as far as being able to then work towards what our soul truth is. And, I want to give a little bit of tips on how to figure out your truth. And right now, I know it's really important. The energies right now are really asking us to make some decisions in our own personal, individual lives so that they can carry us into the next few years. The chaos and the confusion that's happening outside in the world is going to continue. But and there's also a truth there. There's also a way for you to look at what's happening in the 3D field and in the regular old energy world and understand for yourself what your truth is, regardless of everything coming up at us at once. But to start, I really want you to have some tools to figure out your own truths, because right now is a very critical time for us to make some big decisions individually, because we are going to be moving into the next few years, like I just mentioned, and be the holders of light and be on our soul path so that we can help raise this consciousness and help the collective to get through this more quickly than we would have if that was not the case. So, a few quick tools that you could start integrating into your lifestyle is, a lot of us, first of all, you need to stop. Like, our minds can get crazy. Our minds can be like, oh, but we're not supposed to do that. Oh, but who are you to say that? Who are you to think that you can actually accomplish that, right? We're very bad self-talkers sometimes from a human perspective. And I always work with people and I talk to them about, if there are these two voices going on in the head, who is that that's talking to you? If that's you talking to you, then how do we start to balance that? Because there doesn't need to be this chatter in our head. There doesn't need to be this fight or argument or conversation even, because oftentimes, what starts to happen is instead of fighting ourselves, we start to get to a point where it becomes more of a balanced conversation. And we can, and then we move to a point, like I have to say, I'm very much like this my whole life, to a point where I don't talk to myself. I know who I am, and yes, there's voices randomly, but it's not one of these constant chatter things. And that's what we're working towards, so that we're completely balanced and able to move forward just in our soul and know immediately what our heart or gut is saying. But for those of us, all of us as humans, we have to go through a process of getting there. And first and foremost, you have to stop. You have to stop and allow yourself to feel what is right. So oftentimes they talk about the muscle tests and things like that. If you have something that you're confused about, you're not sure if you should go one way or the other, sit with yourself, calm yourself. You don't have to meditate, but if that works for you, to clear your mind, then go for it. I know for some people, clearing their mind comes in so many different ways: gardening, art, even playing with children, or being with other people, which will take their mind off of their own internal chatter, right? Whatever is the best for you, the most often that you can do that will help. But then when you have something really immediate that you want to ask, so something obvious like, I'll just say, should I go to the store? There's something nagging at me on this side that's telling me don't go right now. And on this side it's saying, but you need A, B, and C, and this is the time you have to do it, so go. And if it was really bothering me, I know this is very simplistic, but if it was really bothering me, I could sit here and say, I'm going to the store right now, and then sit with it and see how my body feels. After that's done, I will say, I'm going to hold off and go to the store tomorrow and sit and see how my body feels. Your body will tell you, okay? And the more and more you practice this, the more used to it that you will become. So that's one little exercise you can do during the day, especially when it comes to things that are really boggling your mind. If you can try to get, as clear-minded as possible and be able to ask yourself these questions and give yourself the space and time, you'll start understanding what the feelings mean, what the body's telling you. And if you go one way and something happens that proves to you that you went the wrong way, that is a learning experience. That's an opportunity for you to now understand your body and your senses and your feelings a little bit more. So as you continue to do exercises like that, you will start to innately do them and innately start working through your life that way. So another piece is that whole chatter in your head where you're talking to yourself. I always ask people to say, if that other voice that's talking to me was sitting right next to me, was my best friend sitting right next to me or right across the table from me, then would I let her talk to me like that? Would I be okay with it? And if I wasn't okay with it, how would I react to them? If it's in any way or shape or form something that's not coming from a place of love, connection, understanding, compassion, then why are we letting it happen? Why are we letting ourselves do that when we would not let a human being do that to us? So as you start to create awareness to that as well, for those of us who have that crazy chatter in our heads and the self-talk, then start creating an awareness to it so that you stop yourself sometimes and you say, wait a minute, if that was best friend, Sally, I would be like, Sally, get out, or I would be like, thank you for understanding. Like whatever way it goes, create a new awareness to that for yourself so you understand what you're actually doing. Because in that respect, you are taking yourself away from the now moment. And when we remove ourselves from the now moment and we start thinking about, oh, I should do this in the future, that in the future. Oh, this happened yesterday and I don't feel good about it. Now I feel guilty. Now I feel ashamed. Or I had a great day. I met a great person. Now I'm happy. You're staying in the past or the future and you're not taking any steps to move forward for yourself at the now moment. The now moment is the only time you have that can enact change. Time does not truly exist. So if we're living multidimensionally, everything can happen at all times. We could be many different places at once. And until we start to bring ourselves back into our actual human moment that we're in, because our soul can be in other places, but the human moment we're in, for our mind to understand, is the only place that we will be able to enact any change. So if you could apply some of these tools, what it really comes down to is creating an awareness to what you're actually doing in the now, and what you're doing within your own mind in the now and on your outside, with your outside physical world in the now. And the more aware we are to those pieces, the more we can bring it back in and really start to create a balance where it ends up just being us, our minds and our souls and our bodies in the now moment. And once that happens, you become almost a fly on the wall. That whole saying that a lot of people say, like, don't you wish you could be a fly on the wall? I feel like a fly on the wall oftentimes because I'm looking at it from a bigger perspective. I'm looking at it from an outside neutral perspective. And we can do that first and foremost for ourselves, because then we start making more clear decisions. We start taking out all of the, but this person would think, but that person would say, but I was taught, all, there's so many different conditionings and beliefs that are within us. That starts to break down, and we start to break down the barriers within ourselves. And once we're in that now moment, you can also start to apply it to the outside world. For those of us who are really involved in what's going on in the outside world, you can get really drawn in if you do that. But if once you become that fly on the wall and you become more neutral and more balanced within and understanding who you are and where you're going, then all of a sudden you start to apply that same perspective on the world around you, and you start to see things a little bit differently. You start to see a bigger perspective that is a possibility, and you start to see all these little pieces that yes have to happen and yes are there. And you could start holding a place where, and holding the light and the understanding of where this can take us. And as we start to do that, we hold an energy within the collective that helps bring all of us to that next level. Will it be fun? I don't want to say fun, but it's hard. It's hard sometimes to look at some of these things that are happening in our outside world, to look at people who are so into the divisiveness or the separation, and instead of loving each other. It's hard sometimes if you really take that in from a personal perspective. But once you start looking at the bigger picture, and you don't have that judgment on yourself, and you don't have the confidence issues up with yourself, and you don't feel shame or guilt, etc., for being who you are, then you're able to look at the world and see it in a different perspective, as far as these people are coming from places where they're afraid, there's anger, there's mistrust, there's questioning of themselves, but it's all coming from each and everyone's own experience and belief system. So as we break down our own, we're able to live more freely, individually. We become examples for those around us, and we start to push this higher perspective energy into the collective that will help others to be able to grab from that, and they don't know exactly where it's coming from, but it helps from an energetic standpoint to support them when they have aha moments and realizations, to start to transform themselves and to start having their own awakenings and their own up levels into new perspectives, so that we can all start living lives that are led by our souls and our hearts, and where we can all respect each other for our individual truths and our individual ways of being and our individual passions and pursuits, and be okay with the fact that the person next to me is very different and is on a totally different path. We need you. We need you on that path, because that's what you're here to do. If we were all the same, we would be a world of robots, and we would not get anything accomplished, because we would all want to do the same thing. So we need to find that truth within ourselves, so that we first and foremost are peaceful, joyful, happy, and living a loving life. And by doing so, we will lift up the collective and help them to A, get through this easier, B, get through it quicker, and C, bring us to a new perspective from a collective standpoint. So I hope that was helpful, a few different points, and I'll come back and talk to you more about all of this. It's very important right now for all of us that we really move into our truth, so that the support that is being offered to us energetically and from the universe can continue to carry us as we move into this next chapter, which is coming. I love you. Thank you.